Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the HockeyNorth podcast. I'm your host today, Tyler Kroom, joined here, as always, with my good friend, Brendan Palu. Brendan, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you? How was your weekend?
It's been good. U18 and U17 AAA Caribou Cougars spring camp's been over the weekend, so they're getting media content, and it's good to see some of the guys again. As once the season ends, you don't see them often unless you're at the spring camp or the summer camp ahead of the season. So it's good to just be around the room with the boys and having a good time. But yeah, it's kept me pretty busy. How about you?
Not too much. Just the Cougar games. Had an officiating clinic over the weekend too, so that kept me busy. So it was pretty fun, pretty chill. Can't really complain.
Love to hear that. And speaking of which, the Cougars games over the weekend, we've brought on our good friend Will Peters, who does game day social media for the Prince George Cougars. Will, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Tyler. How are things?
Things are golden, man. So for those who don't know who you are, maybe just do a quick introduction and let people know what you're all about.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I used to work with the Caribou Cougars back in the day. That's kind of where we first crossed paths. Now I work in the MyPG Now newsroom with Brendan. So, it's all kind of come in full circle here. I have been doing Cougars game day social media for the most part for the last 4 seasons now, which is kind of crazy. Started 2019-20, went right through the hub. I did Cougars All Access, that video series back at that point, which was fun. Picked up again a little bit at the tail end of last year. I was living in Vancouver, so I was away from the team. And then I've been just all in again this year. I think I've only missed 3-4 Cougars games the entirety of the season. So been on it. I filled in doing, in-arena PA. I filled in doing Jess's job as the in-arena host. So a little bit of, I'm social media primarily, but kind of the fill-in guy whenever anything goes wrong around the CN Center, it seems.
Excellent. Definitely a Swiss Army of types for the Cougars. And it's been cool. I mean, being able to see you kind of fill in those roles and just be all over the place for the Cougars. And hopefully that expands into a bigger opportunity for you.
It's been a lot of fun. And I've been a fan of the team for my whole life too, like born and raised in Prince George. Went to the games with my grandma. She's been a season ticket holder since they came to town. So just getting to work for the team now is just, it's even 4 years later, it's still a pretty cool experience, especially when, we're in the most exciting times since, I've been a fan or since I've really remembered being a fan anyways.
No, definitely. And I mean, the same thing here. My grandparents used to own Play It Again Sports here in town, and they supplied gear for the Cougars back in the day. So no stranger around the rink. And, we're going to lead into the excitement in the community right now. As you mentioned, it's been a long time since we had this much excitement around the Prince George Cougars, and rightfully so. There's a lot of really good talent and hot finish to the year. And let's touch base on a quick recap on how that round with Tri-City went.
Well, from my end of things, the round with Tri-City was interesting. I've been a fan for forever. I think it's good having a fan running social media. You get a little bit of the passion there as well, opposed to somebody who's indifferent. But it's also it's a lot of power, right? So if a call doesn't go our way, one in particular that I can think of, but game one didn't end up really mattering too much in the end of the series there. But it's interesting. From a hockey standpoint, I mean, if you were to ask a fan at the start of this year what the goal was, I would say, and I did say, and Brendan can vouch, be over 10 games, over 500, have a good solid regular season. It was a roundabout way of getting there, but they got there by the end, and then win a round of playoffs. We've done both of those things. It was a hard fought series. We saw 2 overtime wins in the CN Center, which was a lot of fun. Capped off with the game, the series winner as well, which fans will remember for a long, long time. Some good hockey. Tri-City, they're not a bad hockey team, and if you're a fan of the league, you'll know it's not the last time that those two teams will probably meet in playoffs with these two cores.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I think some really good young pieces on that Tri-City team, and they're going to be right back competitive, ready to roll next year. And, I think potentially another first round with Tri-City would be even more, I think, maybe even more challenging, as they're going to be a year older and they're just going to want to try and stick it to us. So, well, let's not get too far ahead there. So now we're playing the Seattle Thunderbirds. Games 1 and 2 have already happened. We're down 0-2. I don't think anybody expected anything different. Working on the media side of things, what's your perspective on how those games went?
I mean, Seattle is so good, right? 10 NHL drafted guys, 5 of those guys first round picks, multiple guys that were in the Memorial Cup last year. Any returning player of theirs was in the league finals the year prior. Like I've just watching some of those guys play, I've been saying it, where it's like they would be putting up a very solid fight in the AHL playoffs. And I think, you put them in a best of 7 series against somebody like the Anaheim Ducks, even, it was like they wouldn't get swept anyways. I think it's crazy to say they would win against an NHL team, but like they're just miles ahead of anything else really maybe I've ever seen in the WHL. So coming home 2-0, from a media side, obviously we're keeping positive, and there's still a lot to be happy about. Looking at potentially 2 sellout crowds here. These podcast comes out on Tuesdays, right? So tonight and tomorrow, sellout crowds is what it's looking like. The energy's still high around Prince George, and I don't think it's unrealistic to think that we don't get swept. Like it's not over till it's over, but definitely our hands were full at a 0-0 series. So now down 0-2, it's going to be, really time to step it up here.
Absolutely. And I know I watched both those games from home, and there was some big saves that goaltender Thomas Milic had to make. And I don't think it's any leap of logic to think that the Cougars could have maybe lost by 1 or 2 goals in that game last night, or even the game prior.
Yeah, the big one that comes to my mind is the Height and Ziemer 2-0 that I believe Allen defended the very, very last second there. Just stuff like that. But really, the first time that the Cougars really got set up in the offensive zone, to me, it looked like was, early in the second game on a power play. Like, just the zone time, just, I don't know, Seattle's done a very good job of shutting what we have down. Going to need to be some adjustments moving forward, but the chances that we've had have looked good. Like it's not like we didn't show up for those first 2 games, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There was one point in the second period last game where the Cougars for a short period of time were out shooting Seattle. And I think the 5-on-5 pace seemed pretty back and forth. And given how the Cougars are a much younger team compared to Seattle post deadline, how encouraging is that from a organizational standpoint to see a young team being able to keep pace and stay relatively competitive against such a juggernaut?
Oh, for sure, right? Like you gotta, this year has been really a fun year, and the pieces that Mark Lamb acquired have been fantastic, but you got to look at the guys that are returning too, right? You got to look at the future a little bit and know that, you saw how we performed against Portland last year, and you saw some of the adjustments and some of the learning that they did year over year. And now we're playing against what I would argue is, I know the CHL top 10 doesn't reflect it, but I would argue the best team in Canada, or I guess the best team in the CHL in Seattle. And it's only going to make us better. Like Mark told you guys just a couple of weeks ago, you gotta learn to lose before you can win. And this is sort of part of it. So, but again, like big couple of games coming up. I don't want us to be talking like this is over. The Cougars have got a good team. They've got the offense. We're not going to be held to just 1 goal in every game this series. I find that highly unlikely. The offense will break through. And, the crowd in the CN Center was insane in the first 2 rounds, and there was still about 1,000 seats left open. So like, I think that intensity is just going to go up, up, up.
Certainly. And with that said, of course, this podcast, as you mentioned earlier, is going to come out on Tuesday, which will be game day for game 3 and just a day before game 4. with all that we've said here, what can Prince George Cougars fans be anticipating heading into these two games?
I think that the Cougars are a team that play with a lot of pride. The chemistry in the room seems very good. The guys, a lot of them were in the hub together. I said when the hub was going on, that's going to be a great experience for a lot of young players to really get to know each other, become familiar with the team, coaching. They're not going to roll over. They're going to go to war for each other. They're going to give it their all. I would expect better games than what we saw in Seattle. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if we pull out a win, maybe even two. It's the environment in that building from a crowd perspective is going to be unmatched. Like Seattle in their first game, they only had 4,000 people in that building. I believe we've already outsold that. The energy in Prince George is here right now.
All right. Well, we'll leave it off at that. We hope that it's going to be a really big weekend. Actually, no, we'll not leave it off at that. Since we have the three of us on, what are our predictions heading into the weekend here, or I guess the weekday doubleheader?
Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I think the Cougars, they're going to come out desperate here. We'll see what happens on that hit on Riley Height. He did get a major, so we'll see if there's any extra discipline added to that or not. Funny enough, Height was suspended for a game in last year's playoffs against the Portland Winterhawks, rather. And so it's tough to see one of your top guys in a position like this again. I think Cougars come out with the desperation to come out with a victory in Game 3. Not sure what's going to happen in Game 4, but I would expect the Cougars to come off the mat, ride the wave of the energy at home and push back a little bit.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how I look at it too. I think Game 3 is going to be incredibly important. My speculation is if the Cougars can't win Game 3, if Seattle does steal that one from us, then I think they might take this in 4. But I think if the Cougars can get Game 3, then there's a chance they could extend this maybe 5 or 6 games. So I think we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I think you guys are probably bang on here. And I mean, again, we shouldn't be talking like this is an obituary, right? We have a strong team too. It'll take a lot. We'll have to play the best hockey that we have all year. I think there are aspects of the game that can be improved. Our power play hasn't been clicking the same way it was in the regular season. You look at some of our leading scorers and credit to them, but they're not who you would expect them to be. Now, like Brendan mentioned, Height, I don't have any, I have no insider information from the team on this one or the league or anything beforehand. Just, from what I saw, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not dressed for Game 3. But, you still have your Zemer, Wheatcroft, Samson, Thornton, the rest of the guys in that power play that have, they were all point per game or in some cases well above in the regular season. And they're going to be the guys that have to step up there, I think.
Absolutely. So we'll segue that into our Northern athlete updates here with some playoff rounds going on. Brendan, take it away.
Well, continuing on with the Western Hockey League playoffs, of course, this one of 4 second-round matchups getting underway this weekend. Tanner Molendyke and the Saskatoon Blades down 2-0 against the Red Deer Rebels, as Red Deer winning both games on the road, similar to what Regina did in round 1. So the Blades going to have to dig down deep again, this time in central Alberta. As I mentioned, Fisher O'Brien, Caden Brown of the Prince George Cougars look to recapture some of the offensive magic that they had in round number 1 against Tri-City. O'Brien, 5 points in 8 games so far in these playoffs. Caden Brown has 7 points in 8 games in this postseason. So, like we mentioned, looking for more out of those two guys. And, of course, Nico Majadovic of Prince George of the Seattle Thunderbirds. Just the 2 points to speak of so far in the first 6 playoff games for Seattle, but you kind of put an asterisk on that just based on how deep the Thunderbirds are on offense and just their talent roster as a whole. Switching gears to the AJHL playoffs, want to send a congratulations to Hunter Brown and Brophy Dunn, 2 Caribou Cougar grads, now punching their ticket to the league final against the Brooks Bandits. That's going to start next weekend on the 21st and 22nd of April. So Spruce Grove going to renew hostilities with Brooks. To the BCHL playoffs, Nathan Mackey, the Salmon Arm Silverbacks, knotted up at ones apiece in their best-of-7 series against the Vernon Vipers. Mackey, of course, a Michigan State product and Prince George native, 10 points in 6 games for Nathan. In the MJHL playoffs, the Swan Valley Stampeders, which have Amar Power on them, on that team, in a battle there with Steinbach in the semifinal round in the MJHL. They're down 3-2 to the Steinbach Pistons, so Swan Valley needing another win to force a Game 7 in that series, and that's pretty much where we sit for our Northern athletes. Obviously, getting a bit shorter now with these, given that the playoffs are narrowing down with the teams the deeper we go into the playoffs. So there you have it. That's our Northern Hockey Roundup here across the junior levels.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Brendan. And we got a really special guest. We've had her on the podcast before, but we're going to have hear from Hailey Armstrong here of Dawson Creek pretty soon, as she's just committed to an NCAA Div 1 university. So, Brendan, how about a little pre-clip into our interview here?
Yeah, Hailey committing to Bemidji State Division 1 down in Minnesota, a very major university in the state of hockey. You know, I've heard from multiple sources that, you know, Hailey was pushing for that Division 1 scholarship down south. That was her main goal, and she got it. So congratulations, Hailey. Of course, Armstrong spending a couple of seasons with the Northern Capitals program before going to the Rink Hockey Academy last year. It's been quite the ride for Hailey down in the Okanagan, even prior to this commitment, as Rink winning the U18 female championships in the Canadian Sports School Hockey League. And of course, Hailey, a member of Team BC in the Canada Winter Games, winning gold in women's hockey. So it's been quite the magical year again here for Hailey Armstrong. And without any further ado, here's my chat with her on her commitment and all things hockey here over the past few months. Well, back on the Hockey North podcast here, and welcoming back a familiar face here to the show, and Hailey Armstrong, a Northern Capital alum, also playing this past year with the Rink Hockey Academy in Kelowna. And Hailey, you finally got your Division 1 scholarship to the NCAA with Bemidji State in Minnesota. First of all, congratulations, and just talk about how it feels to finally get that accomplishment out of the way.
Yeah, it feels really good, like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I'm super excited and happy that I'm able to go to Bemidji. It's a great place, and I'm really looking forward to next year. So I'm quite happy.
Now, we were talking before the interview, you had quite a few offers to go to the States, but a lot of them weren't until the year after. Just maybe talk about that process you went through from, you know, having interest from multiple schools, and maybe how this offer from Bemidji State kind of fell right into place for you.
Yeah, kind of just the whole journey to get here was a lot of ups and lots of downs. It was a very long process, but it can get discouraging at times, but everything worked out. I stuck with it, and now I ended up at Bemidji, and so that part worked out. Everything fell into place as a great fit for what I want to take in school and for the hockey side of things too. And I'm also glad that it's closer to home, so everything there kind of just fell into place, which is nice.
Now, did you end up going on a campus visit? Were you able to meet with the coaches? Just maybe talk about that experience, expand on it a little bit more if you can.
Yeah, so I'm actually setting up a visit here for some time in the next month or two to kind of go down there. And I met the coaches this past weekend at our showcase here in Kelowna. So I got to kind of hang out with them, see them behind the bench. So that was nice to get a good feel for things. And I'm also going there with my goalie from my team this year. So it'll be a nice, I'll have a familiar face. And like, she went and toured, she loved the campus. So I'm not too worried about anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And it was quite the year for you. Rink Hockey Academy, of course, winning the U18 female side of things in the Canadian Sports School. And you are also as well one of many Northerners on the Team BC women's hockey team to win a gold medal at the recently completed Canada Winter Games in Prince Edward Island. First, we'll talk about the Canada Games experience, what it meant to experience that part of the country, as well as win that gold medal for your province.
Yeah, just the whole experience in general was crazy. Like, just going over there just to be in PEI, we got to stay on the campus at the university, and there was all the athletes from everywhere. So that was just like a whole different experience. You're not like you're used to staying in like maybe like a hotel and you only have your team. So it was like quite a change. We ate with like in the cafeterias for the school, and like it was a pretty neat experience overall, just to like be able to interact with all the other athletes and even all the other provinces too. Like I know there was pin trading, which was a big thing for us. So that was pretty neat to experience. And then at the end of the week, like trading clothes. So everything was just unreal to be over there.
Mm-hmm. Just maybe take us through the type of team that you had with Team BC, and just maybe take us through that entire gold medal experience.
Yeah, well, at the start, everyone just bought in right away. There was just like everyone knew the system, knew what they had to do, knew what their role was, and I think everyone just executed really well. So like each game we got better and better, and like we kept building confidence, building each other up, and then by the time we hit to our semifinal game, we were just rolling. We couldn't be stopped. I think even if we faced Ontario in the final, I think we had a good chance to beat them. So it was pretty cute.
Is moving on. Just maybe talk about winning the league in the Canadian Sports School in regards to Rank Hockey Academy. Just talk about that season as well.
Yeah, no, the whole season, same with Rank. Every game we got better. We spent a lot of time practicing this year, and we came together really well as a group. So I think that helped our overall effort. And just like we got back, we had like 3 practices or something like that from winter games to then playoffs. So like we were all a bit tired, but everyone battled through. And so it was a pretty exciting win, especially in overtime.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what's next for you now? You obviously have a few months before the NCAA season begins at Bemidji. Your season at Rank recently completed. You have all the major tournaments, at least up to this point, out of the way. What's next for you?
Yeah, mostly just for me, summer training, getting ready to go to Bemidji next year. I think I go towards the end of August is when I head over there to start. So that's kind of what's up next for me.
Mm-hmm. And it just, training, just being in contact with the coaches and support staff over the course of the summer?
Yeah, pretty much.
What's the one thing about your game that you either evolved over the course of the season, or that you still want to maybe improve upon here before going over to begin your freshman season in Bemidji?
Definitely my skating. That's what I worked on a lot this year. I spent a lot of time focused on it in practice, put the work in just to kind of improve that, because I know to make the jump to the next level and to be able to gain playing time and opportunities, that I need to have that dialed in before I make the next step.
Mm-hmm. And you're obviously watching, the Women's World Hockey Championships that are going on right now, as well as a lot of other showcases that are taking place in the women's game. How much of those types of showcases and tournaments that are being nationally televised now, how much does that inspire you to kind of want to reach that next level?
Oh, it's so inspiring to see people. There's like RHA alumni, people I know, people I've seen play for Team Canada and stuff like that. And everything they're doing is just super exciting. And it makes it some even more to look forward to after I complete the 4 years at Bemidji.
Mm-hmm. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, you're going to the state of hockey in Minnesota. They're crazy about the sports there. All the way from minor to high school, collegiate, you name it. How do you kind of mentally prepare for, that type of environment that you're going to be stepping into? Obviously, here in BC and here in the North, we're passionate about our hockey here, but it's almost 100 times that. Well, once you head to a state like Minnesota, where that's pretty much all there is during the winter months.
Yeah. I think I've kind of been a little bit more prepared recently from the big stages when we were in the championship game for the CSHL, and then our final, the gold game for Canada Winter Games. There was a lot of fans, and so I think that side of things I'm kind of prepared for, just to be able to mentally play on the ice. But other than that, I'm ready. I'm just super excited to have that kind of atmosphere and that kind of state to play in.
Now, you also came back for the spring camp for the Northern Capitals a couple of weeks ago. Just maybe talk about, obviously, looking back on your time with the Capitals, and as well as the importance of giving back and kind of helping out with the next crop of players coming up to play for that program.
Yeah, no, my experience with the Capitals was great. I remember all the girls that used to come back, give out, coach on the bench for the like the weekends, the ID camps and whatnot. And so it's always good to have someone like that to look up to. And so I definitely love to come back for all the camps and just like help out, give back as much as I can to Prince George and the Caribou Hockey organization.
Mm-hmm. What's your one piece of advice to younger players coming in, whether they're making the trek to AAA or the collegiate ranks or any level in particular? What's your one piece of advice to them if they are looking to, make that dedicated jump to try and take that next level, whether it's AAA, as you mentioned, or getting and securing a collegiate scholarship, whether it be in the States or even in Canada?
I think definitely just like, don't ever hold yourself back. Don't let your nerves get the best of you. Like, you only have a short period of time. Like, I know the past 4 years for me have went by so fast, and I wish I could go back and like take in every single year, every practice, like whatnot, because I think it goes by so fast and you got to make the most of every day.
Mm-hmm. And I guess in terms of, you mentioned that your goalie was coming with you from rink. I would imagine both of you are pretty close. Obviously, the team atmosphere, you get to know each other over the course of the year as it is. But I would imagine the goaltender on your team in rink would probably be one of your closest friends.
Yeah, for sure. She's actually from Russia, so she's went home for the off season. So I don't get to spend this time with her, but we were pretty close, everyone in the group. So I'm looking forward to her. I think I get to live with her too next year, so that'll be nice.
And other than training and getting ready for the season, any other big plans for the summer?
No, not really. Just enjoy the weather and just train, be prepared for next year.
All right, Hailey. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us again here on the podcast. And once again, good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, and that was our interview with Hailey Armstrong. And what are your final thoughts on the interview, Brendan?
Well, I'm just happy that she finally got the scholarship. I mean, we know full well how talented she was wearing a Northern Capitals jersey, especially during her final season, playing on that top line with Maria Aaron, Brooklyn Hutchings. They were arguably the best line in all of female AAA hockey in the province in that season. And to see her kind of carry that over and kind of take things up to that next level, so to speak, is another feather in her cap. She got the scholarship she wanted, and she had other offers to stay in Canada as well as some other schools in the States. But Bemidji kind of spoke to her in the right sense, and we wish her the best of luck in her collegiate endeavors here over the next 4 seasons.
Very well said. And a little bit more here on Hailey. Just with my time working on the media side with the Caribou Hockey program, which Northern Capitals are a part of, one thing that was really noticeable about Hailey was she was always the first one to practice, and she's always the last one off the ice. And when anyone that ever talked to Hailey or would see her around the rink, definitely she held herself in a very high standard. She's always very dialed in and very focused. She knew what she wanted to do, and she knew what she needed to do to get there. So this is no surprise. And I know everyone from the Caribou organization is super proud of Hailey. And I think many around here would still deem her a Northern Capital in that sense. She was such a big part of the team, a big part of her development as well. And, we're all definitely really proud of her. let's finish off things here with me, you here, and Will. Any guys have any final thoughts? Anything else you guys would like to add here before we close it out today?
Well, I'm just kind of wondering what your opinions are on hockey here, Tyler. You had me talk the whole first half here. You guys haven't really chipped in. What you guys are the professionals here. I just tweet. I get paid to post.
That is fair. I mean, I'm the host for now. I mean, we did a little bit of talking here, but maybe let's pass things off here to Brendan. What do you got to say?
Well, before we sign off, I'd also want to congratulate Prince George product, Chris Jander, for getting his first pro point in the American Hockey League with the Rochester Americans. As you know, Chris signing that AHL deal with Buffalo's top minor league affiliate. So congratulations to Chris there. I guess if you want to touch more on the Cougars, Cougars going to have to ride the wave with the crowd. Their first 10 minutes going to have to be their best. And I think most likely it's going to be their checking line that's going to have to get the job done in game number 3. You saw Dubinsky, Brown, Fisher, O'Brien kind of, play that role with the timely offense there, especially in the latter parts of the series against Tri-City. They're going to have to step up. Guys like Jackson Weber are going to have to step up even more. And even somebody like an Andre Becker. I mean, he had the goal in game 2 to try and get the Cougars back in it, but I think there's a little bit more in him to do that. And we'll see what happens. I mean, it's funny how our power play was second in the league regular season. And, it's so good at times during the playoffs, but the goals aren't coming at nearly the rate that they were during the regular season. I think that's part of that is fewer penalties being called, and just playing against better teams virtually every night. I mean, you're not going to score, 4 or 5 power play goals against Seattle. It's not like, a midweek game against Kelowna Victoria where you have some definite mismatches you can exploit. It's kind of flipped around, and the Cougars are going to have to find a way to pull up their socks here these next 2 games.
It's all about adjustments. We'll see what they do, right?
Yeah. It's all about learning how to win.
Learning how to win. That's the name of the game. That's definitely the philosophy here in Prince George. And we're seeing results as this team moves forward. And I agree with that analysis there. I think less penalties, you got to be more disciplined. And I think at times the transition can sometimes get caught a little bit lagging, and Seattle will just engulf the puck, and you have to deal with that inferno. Usually led there by Dylan Gunther, who pretty much had a whole season in the NHL this year. So, quick transitions, you got to be quick with the puck in your own end, try not to get caught. And usually when you can do that, things start to flow. And I think with the home crowd and that noise, I think that it's going to be a lot easier for the boys to be moving.
Yeah, it's kind of going to be like the crowd's going to be like that old saying we had in the playoffs. The fifth line's got to come alive at the CN Center.
The Prince George whiteout.
Yeah, that's been, can I just say, from a media standpoint a little bit, we've been pushing the whiteout. I wore white to the podcast. That wasn't intentional, but it just proves that everybody has a white shirt. And it's just like, you look at some of these old pictures from, the late 90s or the 2007 or whatever. And it's like, come on, Prince George, wear white to the game. Bring your towels, bring a white shirt. Just the visual impact, it's just not the same if you got some guy sitting there in like a blue sweater. Like, what are you doing? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that is very fair. I saw a lot of dark colored clothes at the playoff games at home so far. So we considered maybe a PG blackout.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that would have to, I don't know, but that's not what we've marketed for. Right. So regardless, whether these guys are trying to, change the paradigm here or not, like.
Paulie, was that a laugh or are you just choking?
Oh, he's dying.
Just my allergies acting up again.
Okay. All right. I think we'll leave it off at that for this week. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Hockey North podcast. Please make your way to the CN Center for games 3 and 4. Enjoy it. And we will all be there, and we'll see you back here again next week. Bye for now.